So we will now proceed with the animation process. Now, hindi porket um, marunong ka ng mag-drawing, mag-illustrate, and magawa ng mga twins, it doesn't really matter kung um, marunong ka na, kasi it will depend on the process you are making, and the process that you are or the goal that you are going to achieve. Now, this will help you kumbaga realize na um, that there is a process when it comes to animation, not necessarily when it comes to animation itself, but also in the aspect of its production. So, planning your animation. Now, what we have here are a workflow. So, it is possible that in every task, in your every task, there is a workflow. For example, if you're going to like present something, you prepare at least ahead of time kasi you're planning on a certain project, for example, and then meron kayong fino-follow na workflow, and then from there nage-generate yung ating mga um, deliverables. Now, planning your animation. So, workflow basics, or the basics of the workflow, is to establish concept and goals, which is start by defining the challenges of the project and the following criteria. And it should answer the questions: what's the message you want to deliver? Who is the audience? Existing elements in the case of branding or materials, and competition, if any. Now, with this, what's the message you want to deliver is very important kasi it would reflect your objective. It would reflect your um, or what message you're going to say in your for example, in your animation. Who is your target audience? This is really important because minsan meron tayong napapanood na cartoons which we don't like. Minsan may napapanood tayo movie na hindi natin masyado feel na panoorin, pero merong ibang audience na ito naman yung gusto. May iba tayong box na ayaw natin basahin, pero ito yung gusto ng iba. So, um, it's very clear na kailangan nating alamin kung ano yung target audience natin. Like for example, if you're going to create a YouTube channel, creation of animation, if you're a vlogger, if you're a reactor, if you're a cook, meron kang audience para dyan. And meron naman tayong algorithm when it comes to searches, kaya nagkakameron tayo ng suggestions pag nagsisearch tayo sa Google, especially sa mga social networking sites. And also existing elements, in which case this is the branding materials. So this is one of the challenges pag ginagawa tayo ng project, to set a criteria of this, for example, an existing element, kasi meron kang magagawa na animation na possible na meron ng parehas. Also, meron na ring competition. Yun naman ay kung meron lang. Emotional heart and feeling of the message. So, ano yung possible niyang maging output? Ano yung genre ng inyong animation? Also the output. So, is it on DVD, CD, web, and also, syempre, consider pa rin natin ang software and hardware. Project goals under ng workflow basics natin is to determine what is expected in completing the project. Now, it is not really a complete project kung may kulang pa siya, but minsan nade-determine na natin kung ano yung gustong ipalabas ng isang animator, ng isang director, ng isang photographer sa kanyang portfolio, for example, or sa kanyang project, kahit minsan incomplete pa, 'di ba? But it is very important kasi what uh, what we say is that yung goal yung gusto nating ma-achieve, so we should determine what is expected. What is your role and how do you fit in? So what is the role ng inyong project na yon? Ano yung role niya? Is it for entertainment lang? Is it for a certain research? Ano yung deliverables natin? Ano yung mga kasama niya? Kasi when it comes to products, for example, meron siyang kasamang for example, software, meron siyang kasamang manuals, and also the payment. So this is between business works na, and it involves client and yung mismong clientele. Next is approving final concept and budget. This will be meeting with clients, signing for contracts, and setting milestones for review. So ito yung part na like for me as a teacher, and also nagkakameron din kami ng mga clients. Like for example, if we're going to make a film, if we're going to take a project, a corporate project, corporate photography, so kasama yan sa meeting with clients. Now, dito sa part ng subject nyo for animation, possible na magiging immersed lang talaga kayo, or you would let yourself be immersed in your drawings, in your software, in your animation, and for sure meron na kayong mga stories na gusto nyo i-animate, but in the real world, magkakameron kayo ng clients na kailangan nyo kausapin, and also contracts na kailangan nyo i-deal, kailangan nyo makipag-deal with. Kasi yung isa din sa mga challenges na yan, yung pakikipag-usap sa clients, ano yung gusto ng clients, ano yung gusto ng ilang revisions, ayan. So pag nakagraduate kayo, dyan yung may experience yung hindi lang pala yung ito yung job ko, kasi kailangan ko rin kumausap ng clients, kailangan ko din i-please yung iba, kailangan, kumbaga, additional challenge, pero sa iba nga, minsan, additional stress, kumbaga. But still, you have to set your goal, straight, and of course, dito natin makikita yung pag-handle nyo ng projects, not necessarily with the project itself, but also with projects handling in front of your clients. Kasi there are times na the animator, for example, or as yourself, ay may mga kausaping clients. Minsan may kakaiba talagang clients na hindi mo kayang i-please, ang daming revisions, ang daming gusto palitan, ganyan. So lahat yun na experience na namin. Kaya na-share ko sa inyo yung mga points. Kumbaga, hindi necessarily kailangan mag-focus on your certain role lang, but also you have to see the whole project itself. Although the whole project naman is divided into sections, kasi there are certain specializations when it comes to a certain project, kasi hindi mo naman malalahat. Hindi mo naman talaga malalahat yung projects to yourself lang, kasi this would involve other teams, diba? Producing the result, so creating folders, file structure, adding files, and naming files properly. Ito yung isa sa mga medyo hindi ko nasusunod, kasi I myself, I'm a photographer, a videographer, filmmaker din. But minsan nakakalimutan namin mag-name ng files ng tama, kasi minsan basta na kami mag-save, kasi kahit mga computer people tayo, pag mag-save tayo ng bilisan, like kung ano na lang mapindot natin sa keyboard, minsan magne-name tayo letter A lang, mailagay lang, ma-save lang, kumbaga, especially pag nag-e-edit ako sa Photoshop. But when it comes to project-based, kailangan yung mag-name ng mga files properly. These are really relevant kasi magagamit mo when it comes to searching. This is the animation strategies, understanding and communicating motion to tell a story. Now, if you're going to ask, kumbaga yung susunod natin na activity, after you're done with your flipbooks and stop motion, you're going to create a story na. So, understanding the communication motion to tell a story. So, the first one is to establish ground rules. Considering your signature or personal style, structure, which is developing rules to guide your design so that the animation support your ideas, which is, for example, knowing how to differentiate between a home movie and an engrossing motion picture. Using music as an example, all music has an underlying structure of notes and timing. Alam natin yun, but not necessarily kaya nating lahat gawin yun into a certain project kasi meron tayong suggest specialization. But you have to establish your ground rules, especially when it comes to working with teams. Considering your signature or your personal style, merong mag-animate ng black and white lang, merong mag-animate super vectorized, merong mag-animate ng super colorful, merong mag-animate ng realistic, merong super cartoonish. So, the next one is structure, developing your rules, the rules to guide your design so that animation support your ideas. So, this is the structure. Kumbaga sa structure nyo in the beginning up to the end is parehas lang para ma-set natin yung standard ng pagkakaroon niya ng structure para naman kasi minsan nakikita natin yung sarili natin na pag nanonood ng movies, minsan napapa-comment, hindi minsan na-appreciate yung mismong movie itself. Kasi like for me, ako pag nanonood ako ng movie, minsan hindi ko na follow yung story kasi ang napapansin ko is ano kaya yung shot na yon, ano kaya yung ginamit na lens sa camera na yon. I mean, paano kaya nakuha yung shot na yon? Paano nakuha yung ano yung ginamit nilang rig, di ba? So minsan ganun tayo. Using music as an example also, all music has an underlying structure of notes and timing, especially pagdating sa editing. Minsan, may napapanood tayo, akala natin late yung mabagal yung internet natin, pero hindi lang pala sync. Next is defining variables. Establish a tone. It's either peaceful, quiet, fast, slick, funny, scary. What kind of motion suits the style of your project or personality of the character, and how does color communicate your theme or idea? How does sound support the atmosphere or character? Be consistent, don't try to do a bit of everything. Minsan may na-encounter kami na student na halos ginagawa niya na lahat yung animation ng kanya lang, siya na rin yung sa production, siya na rin yung sa sound, siya na rin yung voice over, but you can really tell the difference kung nag-work sila as a team kasi alam mo merong isang classmate siya or student na mas magaling siya sana doon sa isang task na yon, but kinanya na ng isa. So kumbaga be consistent, don't try to do a bit of everything. Let your theme or idea flow. Kumbaga makikita naman yun into your sa inyong output na makikita ko yung consistency, makikita ko yung kung bakit nabago, ganyan. The environment. So, establishing a look and feel of your project, which is the art direction or production design. How light or dark is it? You should answer these questions then when it comes to animation strategies. Is everything distinct or blurry? How crowded or spacious is it? And how quickly does things move? Kasi lahat yun kino-consider when it comes to animation kasi minsan hindi natin napapansin yung very obvious na pala yung mga errors natin. Although kahit gaano pa kaganda yung drawings mo, kahit gaano pa ka-fluid yung animation mo, pero may na-overlook kang error, makikita pa rin yan. How does gravity affect objects? Is space limited or endless? And help the audience locate themselves in the environment you create. Kaya nagkakamera tayo din ng mga imaginative aspects na especially yung mga kids, na-imagine nila na nandun sila sa animation world. Kaya minsan nagkakamera sila ng wide imagination na minsan pag nanonood sila ng cartoons, uy, ako yan, ganyan. Ako yung bida dyan. Hindi, kakalabanin ko yung kontrabida dyan. Ayan. Consider historical and cultural context. Is it retro, postmodern, futuristic, multicultural, or a specific subculture? And with this, nakikita natin to sa mga motion picture, mga animated movies na hindi natin napapansin pero napapansin natin sa mga reviews. Pero it takes a lot of research para lang ma-prove ang isang historical context para lang sa isang motion picture. For example, mas makikita natin yung, not necessarily makikita lang natin yung pagka-futuristic, but also there are facts na makikita natin dun sa film na yon, or meron siyang tinatagong message na about history pala. So these are the little things, but it kumbaga masyadong malaki yung impact when it comes to the motion picture itself. It's either a movie itself, then a realistic movie. It's either a 3D movie, or also a 2D. Ayan, mga animation strategies, meaning establishing shots. Usually, when it comes to establishing your shots, there are multiple characters para makita natin kung nasan location sila, ilan yung characters sa isang frame. The next is the materials. Consider the finer details of your environment. Do you want elements to be smooth, jagged, hard, fuzzy, or squishy? So, syempre yung animator pa rin yung tatanungin yung sarili niya when it comes to materials, kasi it would always depend on the animator, kasi siya din yung papagalaw na, siya din yung mag-create, siya din yung mag-produce. How much volume does the graphic elements have? Are they transparent? If the objects are soft, hard, heavy, or light, the motion must relate to them. Katulad nga ng kahit na anong bagay, pag like for example a ball, pag pinatalbog natin siya, nagsisquish, lagyan natin ng konting kumbaga overreaction ng isang object, nagkakameron siya ng hindi realistic, but it's very interesting pag nakikita, considering na i-compare natin siya sa real world. Kaya nagkakameron tayo ng mga overly produced na mga animation. That's why nagugustuhan ito ng mga kids, and at some point nagugustuhan din ng matatanda, kasi kumbaga it serves as entertainment. Controlling the speed and pattern, analyze the real world, and we should always study rhythm and timing. Adding personality, how fast or slow does an object move? Does it accelerate or decelerate? How does an object or object's movement loop or change over time? Finding the right music to establish timing and pace usually helps in this regard. Is the object's motion repetitive or random? So, dito na papasok yung isang example natin is yung finding the right music or finding the right sound effect. Kaya minsan napapanood akong cartoon, or even someone did a Facebook video na hindi naman sync yung kanyang kanta, hindi naman sync yung kanyang boses. Kaya minsan yung video na yun minsan na-disregard na, minsan tinatamad na akong panoorin yun kasi ano ba naman yan, hindi man lang sync yung boses. So kumbaga nawawalan tayo ng audience, at saka walang 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 hindi siya ganun ka-complex, hindi siya ganun ka-dynamic, kasi dun pa lang error na kagad. And for sure it really adds up to your personality kapag gumawa ka ng isang um, animation or ng isang production na even yung right music or yung kanyang sound ay at least man lang ay sync dun sa video. Does the object give some visual cue as to its movement, or is it sudden? How big or small are the movements the object can make, and does it move all around the screen, or is it restricted to a specific area? And that will always depend on syempre, your story. So, this is an example of a movement. Ayan. Ito yung mga na-include na natin sa previous slides or sa previous PDFs natin, yung anticipation. So, anticipation, ibig sabihin, meron tayong ina-anticipate, meron tayong iniintay, and then at the same time, we have the action and the reaction. And just like a bouncing ball, kung gusto natin lagyan siya ng squash and stretch to make it more realistic, although hindi naman talaga ganun ka-realistic pagdating dyan, but it adds kumbaga it adds something on your animation, kaya it is one of the strategies. Ayan, squash and stretch, even the faces. Manipulating perception and depth, so using stylus method to play tricks on your audience sa suspension or of disbelief. If you believe it's real, then it is. Kasi if you're the animator, if you're doing the art itself, kung naniniwala kang totoo yung ginagawa mo, then it is. Kasi it is basically up to you, up to your story. Visual tricks such as a swirling cyclone of lines to show a character's feet moving very fast. Kumbaga, it doesn't really matter kung iisa-isahin natin yung details ng isang cartoon ng kanyang feet. Maglabas lang tayo ng mga swirls na yan, magkakamera na tayo ng kumbaga kapani-paniwalang movement. Consider cartoon effects such as a cloud with hands and feet sticking out to show a fight, or moving lines to show a gust of wind, just like this one. This one, yeah, also this one, and this one. Next will be viewpoint framing. Again, under pa rin ang depth is the use of perspective. So planning overlapping of images, avoiding tangents by not allowing foreground and background images to touch each other. Using a natural frame as a reference point to exaggerate depth. Example, creating a viewpoint of looking out of the back of a van or a character running into the camera to convey a panic. Sabihin nun, perspective. So makikita natin ang depth ng isang artwork or ng isang drawing or ng isang animation. Adding bounces to exaggerate a character walking, the winding up before a run, follow through, head turns. And also the secondary motion. It is the movement of a character's belly, for example, and or a hat during a run. Ayan. Understanding the laws of nature. So, siguro naman alam natin yung inertia, which is the objects should show a change in force if there's a change in motion. Kumbaga, ease in and ease out. And also the acceleration. Gravitational forces act differently on objects of different mass. A cannonball, for example, and a feather falling to the ground. So, dito natin makikita yung effect ng animation natin kung i-apply natin yung laws of nature. Kasi with this, ma-realize natin na okay, kailangan kong i-apply ang laws of nature, otherwise hindi siya believable. Kung depende naman sa ating story. But kumbaga standard yung pinag-uusapan is that kailangan nating i-apply yung laws of nature. It is our task na lang kung gusto natin medyo exaggerate or sundin na lang yung standard. Also, the action and reaction force pairs. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reactions. For example, a bouncing ball back in the air lower and lower after hitting the ground, or a character pulling a rope and falling back after a rope snaps. Kumbaga, meron siya ng reaction for every action. Creating timeline animation and effects. So this will be time-based and frame-based. So this will be relevant kapag nag-create na tayo ng mga twins sa software natin. So frame-based, this is the animation that is created by frame by frame, where a drawing is done at each stage of movement over a set time period. So this is also called traditional animation and used in cartoons. The methods are the frame by frame animation, twinned animation, timeline effects, path animation, and animated masks. Next will be storyboarding scenes and shots. So this will be relevant kasi this will depend on your animation project itself. Kasi pag wala tayong storyboarding, medyo mahirap 'yon kasi at some point may mababago tayo. Minsan it would create a delay. At least meron tayong goal na sinusunod, which is kung meron tayong storyboard. Although minsan hindi nasusunod yung storyboard kasi minsan gagawa ng isang project na dire-diretso lang. But when it comes to storyboarding, especially pag naging pag naging animator na kayo, pag nag-graduate na kayo, pag na-involve na kayo sa mga filmmaking na yan, sa video production, may susundin talaga ang storyboarding kasi you would work with your teammates. When it comes to storyboarding, ito yung ito yung trabaho ng isang director of photography, ng DOP, or ng isang cinematographer na kailangan niyang mag-sketch at ito yung mag-decide siya kung ano yung gagamitin mong camera, gagamitin mong lens. Kumbaga, it is also relevant to animation kasi you would decide on your next frame, on your next drawing, on your next art na ano yung reaction ng isang cartoon, ano yung reaction ng character nyo on a certain scene, and this definitely this would change ano yung perspective ng harap ng inyong character, saan siya nakaharap, ano yung gestures na ginagawa ng kanyang kamay all through that certain period of timeline. Kaya it is very relevant kung may susundin tayong storyboard. Sketching key moments like a comic strip, description of scenes, for example, a bright sunny day at the beach. Syempre, may imagine mo na kagad yung daylight, tapos may sun na nasa beach ka. Ibig sabihin nun, establish na yung shot mo, establish na yung scene mo, or yung location ng scene mo, and then description ng shots. Example, magkakamera ng wide shot, so yung idodrawing ng isang animator is for example a full character drawing. Nakita na siya ay daylight, bright sunny day, kita ang araw, and also kita na sa beach. Tapos magkakamera ng medium close up, tapos biglang extreme close up na sa mukha, makikita naman yung mga different personality ng isang character, makikita rin yung yung kanyang facial expression. Description of sound effects, dialogue, and visual effects naman, etc. and so on. Ayan. Makikita natin dito yung mga storyboarding natin. So again, it doesn't really matter kung masusunod mo yung frame by frame, but minsan napapalitan pa rin, nagbabago pa din yan. Pero you get the idea kasi it doesn't really mean na pag sinabi yung storyboard is scene by scene pa rin, parang dinrawing mo na sa flipbook. No. Pinagawa ko lang sa inyo yung flipbook para ma-realize lang na ito yung traditional animation dati. Pero pagdating sa storyboarding na gagawin nyo din ito sa this week, at least makikita natin yung mga important na parts ng isang project. Animatic. In animation, special effects work, the storyboarding stage may be followed by simplified mock-ups called animatics to give a better idea of how the scene will look and feel with motion and timing. At its simplest, an animatic is a series of still images edited together and displayed in sequence with a rough dialogue and or rough soundtrack added to a sequence of still images, usually taken from a storyboard. So, animatic is kumbaga an improved version of your storyboard kasi kahit siya ay still images lang, makikita natin yung or maririnig natin at the same time yung dialogue, makakarinig na rin tayo ng soundtrack, pero not necessarily gumagalaw pa siya, kumbaga per cuts lang, at least to test whether the sound and images are working effectively together. Ito yung mga shot sizes. So we have extreme close-up, we have close-up, and the medium close-up. The medium shot naman shows a broader area than a close-up. A wide shot naman, or wide, shows a broad view of an entire location, subject, or action. Ayan. Ito yung makikita natin na different types of shots, ano yung kailangan nating isama sa mid shot, ano yung kailangan nating isama sa close-up shot, at ano yung kailangan natin i-consider when it comes on having a wide shot. Wider shots can show whole environments, capture broader actions, or show the positions of multiple characters at once. Before moving in to show close-up detail, you can give your audience an idea of the overall scene with an establishing shot. And this establishing shot kumbaga, it's also relevant when it comes to filmmaking, videography, ganyan. An establishing shot is usually a wide shot that sets up the scene and shows the surroundings that might not appear in each close-up, para at least magka-idea sila ng location ng ating mga characters. Usually wide shot just include lang the whole location, kung ano yung makikita natin sa location natin, kung nasan yung character natin. Z-axis blocking. A shot can function as both a close-up and a wide shot at once by using a technique called the Z-axis, populating a scene with objects at varying distances from the camera. Z-axis blocking may sound like a computer graphics term, but in reality, cinematographers were using a phrase long before the advent of 3D rendering. So, ito na yung example niya. POV shots naman is the point of view. It creates an illusion of viewing the scene from a character's perspective. Usually you will want to hide the characters whose POV is being shown, and you don't need to show the body parts such as the arms and hands moving as the character walks in your POV. The two shots naman is a specific type of shot that can be put together to help you stage a conversation, interview, and other scenes in which two characters are facing each other. So like this one. Very critical din yung two shot na to kasi when it comes to pag naggagawa kami ng project, for example for a corporate, for example for a client din namin sa, for example, a videography, an event, pag may nag-uusap na ganyan, minsan sumasala yung shot namin, hindi namin nako-consider yung ganitong two shot, kaya minsan napapansin namin sa post-editing na. The over-the-shoulder shot, or the OSS, is a close-up or medium shot that focuses on one of the characters while showing just enough of the other character's portion of his back or shoulder. Katulad nitong nasa right side. High angle and low angle shots. So a low angle shot with the camera positioned below your character looking up can serve as to make the character look bigger And yung high shot naman with the camera aimed downward from a position above the character can make the character look sly, small, young, weak, confused, cute, or childlike. So dito natin mapapansin yung paano tayo maglalagay ng perspective or mako-consider natin yung mga angle shots na yan pag sa animation or sa drawing. Camera moves, pan and tilt. So in a pan, the camera rotates from side to side so that it aims more to the left or right. The camera does not change location in a pan. It needs only to face a direction or a different direction. Panning is one of the most common and subtle of all camera moves. Next one naman is the tilt. The camera rotates to aim upward or downward without changing the position. Syempre, the zoom is the camera's lens is adjusted to increase and decrease the camera's field of view, which is basically magnifying just a portion of the scene without moving a camera. Rack focus naman is a camera's focal distance changes during a shot, so the subject at a different distance from the camera come into or fall out of focus. This is also called the focus pull. The dolly naman is the camera's actual position changes, such as to move alongside with the subject. Kumbaga, ito yung ginagamit namin dati na, tawag namin talaga is dolly, but minsan tinatawag namin siya slider. Pero ngayon, since hindi na kami gumagamit ng slider, different rigs na lang, or yung mga 3-axis gimbal. The rule of thirds, placing a subject in dead center in the frame does not look very natural or interesting. Kaya nagkakameron tayo ng rule of thirds, in which this is very relevant when it comes to photography, pero very relevant din naman sa animation kasi para na rin naman siyang kumbaga kasama na rin siya sa mismong category niya. So a useful guideline when composing a shot is to picture the frame divided into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. So magkakameron na siya ng 4 na points, and then you would place your character in that point. Tulad nito, kung saan siya nakaharap, yun yung lalamangan natin ng space. Positive and negative space, the most images can be said to consist of both positive space and negative space. Positive space is the part of the frame showing the main subject or the foreground objects. Negative space can be considered the background or the area around the subject. Yeah. Balanced composition leaves a look space of the character shown in the yellow. And unbalanced composition naman can trap your eye in the side of the frame. Kumbaga kung saan siya nakatingin, dapat yun yung mas lamang ang space. Lines. Another way to examine and improve your composition is to picture the dominant lines that can be seen within the shot. Look at any line, whether it is horizontal, a fence, or an edge of a shadow, and think about where it leads. Ito na yung tinatawag namin na leading lines. Kasi, for example, this one, there are a set of lines when it comes to the house, and makikita natin na pantay lang siya, but dito naman, in another perspective, makikita natin na yung line na to is, kumbaga, mag-lead to somewhere. Tangencies. Tangency is a place where two lines meet within your composition, such as where an edge of one object aligns with an edge of another object, or where a shadow falls along with an edge in a surface. So, ito yung example mo. Conceptual drawings, characters, backgrounds, objects, establishing the look and feel of the project. So, dito sa part na to, yung conceptual drawings is you would consider not just the character but also its accessories, its clothes, the background, the objects, anong itsura nung, for example, this one, ano yung itsura ng kanyang armas all throughout a scene na dapat is consistent. on every angle, on every move. Exporting animation. Formats. Different set of formats na can be considered today. Kumbaga, depende na lang kung paano nyo siya ipe-present or paano nyo siya i-output or paano ang kailangan ng isang client. So, the output to film, videotape, internet, or DVD must be familiar with all and depending on your deliverables. Video is 30 frames per second, film is 24 frames per second, but it can be at lower rates as well for cartoon animation and higher for 3D animation. Kumbaga, para lang makita natin yung pagka-fluid ng isang sequence, ng isang movement. Kaya for example, if you would watch a movie, alam mo kagad na you're watching a movie rather than watching TV. Kasi TV, for example, you will watch a noontime show. Iba yung galaw. Possible mas mataas sa 24 frames per second. Kasi parang in real life na, pero when it comes to movie, mas fluid, mas mabagal, although gumagamit sa movie ng mas higher frame rates, pero it would depend on your scene, and it would depend rather than kung gusto mo mag-slow mo or not. Persistence of vision. Persistence of vision is a phenomenon of the eye by which an after image is thought to persist for approximately 1/25 of a second on the retina. In drawn animation, moving characters are often shot on twos. That is to say, one drawing is shown for every two frames of the film, which usually runs at 24 frames per second, meaning there are only 12 drawings per second. Animation for most Saturday morning cartoons is produced as cheaply as possible and is most often shot on 3s or even 4s. This translates to 8 or 6 drawings per second lang. Kaya minsan may mga may mga cartoons na parang isipin mo na hindi masyado na create ng in full detail, kasi kumbaga mas yun yung goal nila is to just create an animation or an animate movie or an anime series na pang kids lang, kumbaga. This animated cartoon of a galloping horse is displayed at 12 drawings per second, and the fast motion is on the edge of being objectionably jerky, so not necessarily ganun ka-fluid. Formats and aspect ratios. The actual frames in which you arrange your scene can have different proportions depending on the format of the film or television for which you are rendering your animation. It's very important when it comes to aspect ratios, kasi dito kami nagkakaproblema dati kasi not all naman has a 4K TV, not all naman has even has a TV, na minsan may mga clients na kailangan ng output namin na minsan papanoodin lang nila sa TV, pero hindi naman pala nakakabasa ng like the computer, kumbaga hindi siya nakakabasa ng media, just TV lang talaga. And nagka-problema kami dati once na nag-DVD format kami, pero hindi naman sa DVD ipe-play, sa computer naman, pero wala naman siyang DVD, naka-install na DVD player. Files lang yung nakikita niya to format for a DVD, so nagkakaproblema kung ganyan. Although, unlike ngayon na kahit a simple picture, pwede mo siyang ma-view sa TV, dati hindi. Ngayon, kahit yung mga files natin, it's either an FLV, MP4, kaya mo ma-play sa kahit na anong unit. Even syempre sa computer, especially sa TV, kaya na din. Ayan. These are the standard definition, the high definition, in different aspect ratios, the 4:3 and 16:9. And usually, for me, gumagamit na ako ng 16:9 even sa mga vlogs ko, and also sa Although hindi ako gumagamit ng sagad na 4K, lagi lang akong 1080p kasi who would want a 4K kung wala naman akong player na 4K, wala naman akong TV na 4K, para na rin to save some hard drive space. Cropping and overscan. In television, a cropping problem occurs when a process called overscanning crops a portion of the video signal off of the screen. Kaya minsan kahit high definition naman or widescreen naman yung TV natin, minsan nakakrop pa din. Kasi if you guys have cable naman at home, meron tayong mga channels na SD lang or standard definition. Meron tayong mga channel na for a price increase sa subscription natin, pwede tayong magkamera ng HD. Kaya minsan may mga friends ako na meron TV na sobrang high-tech, which is even smart TVs, pero yung cable nila is hindi naman HD, so wala din. Although you have Netflix, but yung TV mo naman is standard definition, kaya ang pangit tingnan or ang pangit manood ng, for example, a noontime show, kung hindi naman siya HD. Ayan. So, cropping and overscan, title save, action save. We also have this sa camera para makapag-set up. Consider these techniques as you plan your next project. Animation can be rewarding despite its challenges kasi it's very challenging kasi minsan matagal. One must be open-minded, prepared to take risks, and above all, have fun doing it. Kaya, yung sunod din yung activity after the flipbook and your stop motion, next will be storyboarding naman. Okay? Thank you.